getting a 404. So I am going to let you guys speak to her on LinkedIn or via email and help her out. Meanwhile, let's talk. So we have here a great group, and I will do intros for everybody because I feel like everyone here will be joining shortly. Here's Nandini. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, hello. All right, so let's get into it. Hi, everybody. Welcome, I'm Wendy Zinger, and I'm Managing Director of Strategic Customer Programs here at TestMu AI. I'll be your host for this session, and it is good to have you all with us. So, to the folks here on the panel, thank you and welcome. Folks here in the audience, I'm really excited to greet you. Do remember to post any takeaways, questions, ideas on LinkedIn, on X, and use the hashtag TestMuConf, C-O-N-F, so the rest of the community can follow along with the conversation. And if you have questions during this session, please do drop them in the Q&A bucket. Say hello in the chat. We'll take questions towards the end of the session. So let me give you a little briefing on what we're going to cover, and then we'll get into our esteemed panelists. So as we all know, a growing share of the world's code is written by AI. And if agents are doing the building, someone has to ensure the quality. It's the basics, right? We have to make sure that the quality of whatever we build is correct, no matter who built it. So this panel is bringing together QE leaders to debate what does the SDLC look like when agents generate, review, and test code. Does QE become more critical, or does it get absorbed into the platform? And how are trust, security, and provenance working for AI-written software at enterprise scale? So the question on the table is, who tests the machines? Joining me on the panel today, this is in alphabetical order, but we lost Ankur, so I'm going to assume he'll join in just a moment. So I'll introduce him first. Ankur Agarwal is Senior Manager of Engineering at NielsenIQ, and he leads quality engineering for multiple AI-enabled product portfolios and has built AI-driven automation platforms, visual testing frameworks, and self-healing automation. Nandini Srinivasan is VP of Quality at Moat, reporting to the CTO, with more than 25 years scaling quality organizations against software as a service, manufacturing, fintech, and IoT, and a team that ships production fixes and runs AI agents in production. Somu Suryanarayanan, sorry, I should have practiced that one more time. Somu is a staff QA automation engineer at CookUnity who built an Appium and MCP-based mobile framework that took coverage from 0 to over 80% and cut authoring time from about 6 hours to 10 minutes. And Rahul is a lead QA engineer at Little Caesars with a passion for quality engineering and test automation, helping teams deliver reliable, high-quality web and mobile applications. With extensive experience in software quality assurance, Rahul specializes in designing and implementing scalable automation frameworks across web and mobile platforms. And you're going to see each of these panelists is coming at these questions from very different, very different places in their adoption, in their journey, and in their thinking. So I'm excited. Let's get right into it. So we're going to have everyone answer this first question. And the question that we have for you is, can you let us know roughly how much of the code your teams ship today involves AI? And how has that fundamentally shifted your QE team's day-to-day work? So how much code was built with AI, and how is that changing the day-to-day of the folks in quality engineering? And Somu, I'll start with you.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. So thank you, Wendy, for the nice introduction. And yeah, you pronounced it right. My name is Suryanarayanan as well. Okay. To come back to your question, so how much percentage of the code that's been produced by AI. I mean, for my company, I would say it's almost close to 90% because it's a startup company and we just use AI left, right, and center. So we use Claude Code and Codex to generate our automation scripts. So and then it's been too much into the AI world. So the last 10% is where the critical part is, the human in the loop part, where we review the code and we make sure the code is being written well before it goes to the production. So far, it's been doing well, but a lot of the time being spent on reviewing the code because it's too much, too over engineering is what we see from AI. But yeah, honestly, it's been doing well. Back in the days, we just come to office, we write a set of code for automation, and then we push the PR. There will be very minimal PR reviews, and then we just get it merged in 3 days. Same thing happens here. The AI generates the code much faster, less than half a day, but the code reviews takes more than 1 day because it's too much of a pain for everyone to understand what's been written and do we really need this method? Do we really need these type of assertions? So more questioning comes into the picture for reviewing part. But yeah, that being said, it's been really nice working with AI.
That's fantastic. I love that the code is being written faster, but the evaluation of that code is still a very important step in your day-to-day. Got it.
Yes.
And the human in the loop evaluation. So we'll come back to that as well. Nandini, could you tell us a little bit about how your QE operations and day-to-day has changed?
I think so. The QE operations day to day has seen a paradigm shift with AI because you at Motive we handle both software and firmware. So on the firmware side, I would say that that we still do a lot of the human in the loop intervention just because of the style of how the product itself is. On the software side, we do have a significant portion that gets AI generated from a code standpoint and also from our standpoint of testing the code. I would put that number at a good 60 to 65%, only because unlike we're not still a very small startup, but we still are trying to bring in AI, but with the necessary guardrails.
Perfect. I'm going to just hand it off to you, Rahul. How has your day-to-day changed as a result of code potentially being generated with AI?
Yes, so at Little Caesars too, so we use AI to develop a lot of our development code. I would say roughly about 40 to 50% is being shipped. And for us, honestly, the day-to-day hasn't fundamentally changed yet. We don't really care how the code is being developed, whether it's written in AI or if it's generated by a developer or is a combination of both. For us, our perspective and our responsibility is still the same, that we understand the requirements, we identify the risks, build the right tests, and make sure the product works as expected. But I do think so this will change as AI is becoming more integrated into development. The volume and the speed of these changes will increase. And when it does, the challenge for us will be keeping up the quality at the same speed as AI-driven development.
And so there's kind of the rub is how do we handle this major speed up, let's just call it, this acceleration of code, the ease of creating new features, the ease of creating new structures and new processes as well. I think it kind of leads us directly into the next question. And that is, recent industry research is showing that delivery speed and instability are rising together. Now, that's research, but you each work in organizations that have, to one degree or another, adopted AI. And I'd love to hear sort of Has this been your experience? If so, I'd love an example of where that happened, how you spotted it, what you did to address it. And Rahul, I'm going to start with you. I know when we spoke about this, you're at the sort of beginning of this journey. So I'd love to hear, if not a practical example, sort of how you're thinking about this.
Yes, so I would say I'm just trying to think. So
yeah, and
code,
I realize
yes,
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
I am putting you on the spot.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah, with rising AI adoption and the pace we are shipping the AI generated code, I agree that it comes with the challenges, and the research might be a bit true, but we may see those instabilities in the product. But here at Little Caesars, we haven't come across such issues yet, since we are still in the early journey of AI. So we have a good quality system here, and we are the gatekeepers of what is being sent out. So yeah, we have adopted the new way of testing. This doesn't necessarily mean that testing AI generated code is any different, but we just have to make sure the validation we do is at a pace.
Excellent, excellent. Nandini, you had some really good thoughts on this when we spoke earlier, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on sort of that instability rising.
Yeah, so fundamental premise, right, of AI is that you're going to ship code 10x faster, right? Or I'm just giving 10x, possibly higher. I don't know. I don't want the LLM guys to mistake me for it. But if you are going to be generating code exponentially faster than what humans can digest it, then it is but obvious that instability will go through a natural spike. But the key is to capture AI speed without sacrificing the stability and shifting. That is where the QE guys have further prominence, and that is where their responsibility increases, is because we as QE leaders and teams need to move away from our traditional test coverage metrics and start talking in terms of risk mitigation, because we need to capture speed, but use a deterministic test harness and proper automated contractual checks to make sure that these AI generated features do not compromise on system availability itself, right? And like how Somu was saying earlier, you create a PR, the PR review is not going to take a whole lot of time, but then he's able to merge the PR faster. Now the PR review takes longer. Why does it take longer? Because he has to verify that AI got the right understanding of what needs to be developed, and his AI agentic test agent has clearly understood that, oh, okay, if that was the code that was written, then the corresponding test to it is on the same lines. And that a person like Somu or someone equivalent of him, a human, has to parse both of it and figure that out, right? When you do that, then your instability spikes are going to be manageable. Let's say you don't do it and automate the whole damn thing, then you are going to have a spike in instability. And that's until because if you write, these days we take all the way from we say, oh, you can my AI agent can write the TDD to the PRD to writing the code to writing the test. If everything is going to be through the AI stream, then you have to make sure that your AI agent at the very first place understood the requirement correctly, knows what your customers are expecting, then writes code accordingly, then tests accordingly, in order to see what And that test has multiple flavors. All of us here know what is unit test, what is integration test, what is kind of regression, what is the customer actually end user, what are they going to receive? Because there's a ton of services under the hooks. So the TLDR of what I'm trying to say is, if it is fully automated, yes, there will be a spike. If it is automated with guardrails, with clear understanding, and your prompts are 8 pages long, then yes, you will be able to get ahead of the curve and use AI in the way it needs to be.
Brilliantly said. Do you have an example in your own organization where you may have seen some of this or prevented it because you saw that it was potentially going to happen?
You don't even have to go that far. You don't even have to go that far into figuring out in an organization. Just take a brand new project with Claude or with Gemini and start talking to Claude to say, hey, you know what? I need you to pull research on blah topic, right? It will go ahead. It'll say surfing, sifting, collaborating, all of that. And then it's going to spew you something. Now, there are two ways of looking at it. If you have the subject matter expertise on the topic you ask Claude to research on, then you will be able to sift through what it has given you and figure out that 80% of it is nonsense. And then you have to course correct it and say, hey, but I wasn't expecting this. I am looking at that. Can you please recorrect it? Or I don't like your answer. And then you'll get a note. Fair enough. Yeah, I missed that. Or, oh yeah, I overlooked it. Right? Wendy, what I'm trying to say is you don't even have to go as far as an engineering product. You can see it in your day-to-day lives. So fundamentally, why is it that you're able to catch that? Because that human who is giving the prompt has the subject matter expertise. If you don't have the subject matter expertise, you are blind, Claude is blind, you're just going to accept it. And that's why I tell my children, please do not study from AI, right? Please go back to a book, because 2 guys must have written that book doing all their research and understanding.
So well said. I love it. And you're so right. We all know this in our instincts, and you just laid it out very clearly and beautifully. So perfect. Now, Somu, and by the way, I'm going to make a short note. I'm having, at least on my end, a little technical difficulty with the engagement. I can't see the chat right now. So if you guys are able to see the chat and able to see the Q&A, great. I maybe joined when there was a little blip, and I can't.
Yeah, I was getting a 404. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I think hopefully we're over that. If you guys can see the chat, that is excellent.
Yeah, I do see the chat now. You have to click the engage button on the side. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still getting a little glitch, but Somu, you definitely had some thoughts about the speed and instability rising together. I'm super curious to hear you talk about that here. Oh, you're on mute though.
Hey, sorry guys. So yeah, I'm just going one level below from what Nandini left off. So I'm just going to share my example where I failed with AI and how I just improved with AI. So I mean, my company is a startup company and they wanted to move faster. So when I say move faster, we have bi-weekly release. Every 2 weeks, we have a mobile release and a web release. And my manager comes to me, say that, hey, Somu, we need to build the entire mobile automation. And you don't have any resource and you're going to do that. So I have around like 200 plus test cases. So how do I do that? If I just go and ask Claude, yeah, it gave me something nice, fancy. On the first week, I gave it to my manager, hey, all nice. I got a framework, everything is working. So you can ask your engineers to run. The second week, he comes and says, hey, 70% of the tests are failing. Can you go and debug? Then I said, oh, okay, fine, let's go and debug something. And it keeps failing again and again. Then I understood at a point that, oh, okay, so I know better about my app, but Claude doesn't know any of that. MCP doesn't know any of that. So how do I teach that first? I think that's a learning which everybody has to take it forward. Before we start anything, we just have to go back, teach the MCP teach the AI, write a nice architecture, write a nice standard document, ask the agents to follow. Hey, before you do anything, go back and read the architecture, the standard, the patterns, and start from there. Don't go keep generating it multiple times. So every time it keeps generating the test cases, for me, the first time, it just did it in multiple patterns. All of them are flaky, all of them are nonsense, just like what Nandini mentioned. It's too stupid. And finally we came to a point, oh okay, I need to teach the agents to learn about our product, understand the product, teach the failures, teach the mistakes, and then it start doing well. But still I would say still there are a lot of flakiness coming into every day, and we are still debugging it. So somewhere around we are reaching 70% accuracy, but getting into 100% is still difficult. That is where people are expecting the speed, right? Like we wanted to automate 10 test cases in one day. That's not possible with a human or in a person. We can't do that, but AI can do it. So with AI, but there comes a con side. Like yeah, of course, if you automate all the 10 test cases, so some of them may be flaky, some of them may be unstable. Even if we do like 10 eyes of reviews, so it still misses our catch. So that's all happening now with my experience. But now we are learning, we are understanding to work with AI and how to teach them. So far it's been pretty decent, but it all comes with a big learning curve.
And that really leads to kind of the next question that we have, and that is, we become, to your excellent point, Nandini, SMEs. We're all SMEs in various areas. QE engine, QE, is an SME of stability, quality, trust, all of the adjectives or all of those types of nouns that we might use around that. When we think about where do we add significant value into the future in this new world, are we becoming more, let's say, debuggers or assuring the quality of the intent and the context more than we are of the code that is generated? Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And Somu, you kind of got to that, and maybe you have a quick way to talk about that in terms of the role and the need for people to take on that new responsibility of intent management.
Is it for me or for Nandini?
Yeah, no. So yes, yeah. If you can take that, and the question properly asked is: if specs and tests are the real asset, how are failures shifting out of into bad specs, bad prompts, which you touched on? Are you debugging intent more than you're debugging code, or finding issues with intent, spending your time on that more than you are with the actual results of those?
Yeah, I can say before AI and after AI. So before AI, if we see a failure, then that is a user failure. I mean, when I say user failure, it's a user flow, the product failure, the real bug, or maybe an infrastructure bug. Very least possibility to have an actual test code bug, because it was written by a human and we have gone through multiple reviews and we made sure it's been passing so well. So we confidently say that it could be a product bug or be an infrastructure bug. But now, if there is a failure happens in the AI world, right, the very first instinct is to go and check whether the code is correct, because I cannot trust AI 100%. So I will first go and check whether the code written by AI is actually correct. It's actually doing what it is intended to do, the tech spec. Then I understand whether it is an actual product bug or it is an infrastructure bug or it is a data bug. Then I need to analyze it more. So previously it was super easy, but now it just becomes more messier with AI. That hey, I cannot confidently say whether it is I cannot particularly pinpoint the bugs. So now the time being spent on analyzing the failures has been more and more. So that's why we are building a failure analysis agent. So we are again asking AI to triage the failures. So because it's too much for human to review everything at once. So the AI failure analysis agent helps us, gives us high level understanding, and even human is being super in the loop to learn more about what the failures are. But all in all, like the high level TLDR is that like it's been super painful with AI to triage the failures, and we understand it's mostly from the tech spec, that not the actual code, not from the product bug. Um, the agents are failing. That's why we are seeing the test failures. It's not the actual product failure. So that's what I learned recently. So I keep fixing the agents to make the test better, so that it's not leaking any product bugs. So it's more work for QA now.
Perfect. Ankur, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm running into issues somehow. I was not able to join.
But yes, well, I was too, but now I'm back. I'm in the chat, I'm everywhere. So I'm so delighted that you're here. And I am going to throw a question at you right away, because this will give you a chance to speak right out of the gate. We had asked, Somu was just answering in terms of his thinking around tests and specs are now the real, let's posit that tests and specs are the real asset. Are we debugging more intent than code these days? And I'd love your thoughts on that. And you had shared some ideas around, is the code correct? Is that even the question anymore? So.
No, I think I think yes. So probably I'll start with saying that earlier we used to be in a position where we used to actually test the code. Now we want to test the process behind the code generation, right? How it was actually developed, right? If I can start with an example. For example, right, if you have a story on Epic wherein you want to probably disable the inactive users for after 90 days, right? If we don't provide a very clear intent or a very clear definition of what inactive is, we may end up running into issues wherein we may end up disabling the users who are inactive, but they were paying all as well, right? So I think the definition or the specifications or the process behind how the code is generated is more important than the code itself now. I think that's my take, right? AI can very easily generate something which looks very correct, but miss the actual business intent of it, right? So it will look all syntaxically, you'll feel that it is all correct, but actually it is not solving the purpose, the one you are trying to solve, right? So I think yes, intent, specifications, or the prompt that we are probably giving to AI is more important now than just the code itself.
Wendy, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Thank you. I was coughing. I needed to mute. So let me move to the next question, which is a bit qualitatively different. So quality teams at some companies are now shipping production fixes and running agents in production rather than just reporting test results. Is this where the entire field is headed? And what does a QE team do to earn that mandate? And Nandini, you had a really interesting example from your current organization about the new roles and responsibilities of QE, and I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I'm going to start by saying why not, right? Leverage what AI has brought its capabilities to the fore. What is AI's key capability? Automating something that is mundane, automating something that takes a long time. If that is truly the case, the lines between a developer and a quality engineer have blurred. Okay, and know that fully well, that you should be equally able to take a look at the code, product code, as well as your test code, and then figure out if there is a bug, how do you land a production fix. In fact, I'm extremely proud to say that my team has around 25 plus Claude AI agents, both Claude and 𝐀𝐧𝐤𝐮, running in production. And my team has generated more than 300 plus production fixes just in the last 3 months. And that is primarily because we did not wait for AI to show up to garner automation expertise. We already had that test automation expertise, and we leveraged our expertise and took AI as an augmentation and created that kind of technical expertise that we can now not just automate our tests, but we can also land production fixes. Now, one thing we should not forget is the posture that a QE, SDET, QA, call them what you may, always should have, even keep AI out of the picture, is learning the product depths. When I mean by that, and you spoke about SMEs, I think the quality teams across the board in any industry are the SMEs of their product, because they understand the product, how the customer receives it, they understand the product, how the developer has developed it, and they understand what the gaps are. I know of so many quality engineers who have become product managers. I know of so many quality engineers who have moved into DevOps, come from DevOps as automation, and then quality engineers becoming developers, right? And we have developers coming into quality as well, although that is few. However, the fundamental tenet behind all of that is gaining the product knowledge depth. And the easiest way to do it is, don't just ask what changed, ask how it changed and why it changed, what are the repos that were impacted, understand the architecture really well. And if once you have that kind of a leverage, landing production fixes is going to be the easiest artifact that will come out of it. And Wendy, very quickly to touch upon your previous question where you said if specs and tests are the real asset now, right? Specs and tests have always been the asset. However, nothing trumps like customer success and customer adoption, because at the end of the day, it is a human building a product for another human to consume. So unless you understand that, then if your spec is actually giving a problem, that means your product guys did not understand what the customer wants. If your tests are giving a problem, that means your AI agent did not understand the spec that was generated. So it all goes in a cyclical loop, unless you keep it in mind that we're not catering to a bot, we're actually catering to customers who are paying for a product.
That's terrific. I think the comment that we had made when we talked about this was the speed at which code is being generated and supplied may not be adoptable. In other words, the speed is so great that we don't know that our users want to adopt at the speed at which delivery is now possible.
Correct. I mean, everybody wants to ship multiple times, have multiple releases, but everybody is not creating an Instagram-like platform, right? That's a platform where we are all living 23 out of 24 hours. But that's not what everyone's product is. At the end of the day, you are creating a product that may need multiple releases, but do you really think your customer is going to be consuming that? Right? You could be in retail. I saw there was a session with retail folks. You could be in retail. I'm very sure Michael Kors does not need product updates 10 times a day. But I'm very sure that Meta may need it 20 times a day, or Netflix may need it 400 times a day.
And Somu, you had some thoughts on this too. Can you share those?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Nandini mentioned. So it's more like we are being too competitive with the industry. So I mean, I'm from a food industry. CookUnity is a food industry. So our competitors are like DoorDash, Uber Eats. So whether we need that update or not, we are just seeing that update and we wanted to mimic the same thing into our platform as well. So it's just being too competitive in a way that who launches things first, who makes things first. Whether the user really needs it or not, that's a secondary question. But
Correct.
we wanted to launch a feature. We wanted to launch a feature first in the market. So I'm not sure whether the customers are actually using AI in the food industry. Like nobody wants to search, hey, I have this dietary restrictions, I wanted to buy these certain food. Nobody does that. So they go to the app, they just search for whatever the food they like and they order it, right? But we wanted to introduce AI into this app, but nobody wants that actually. But that's what happening now because we wanted to introduce AI to the customers. Maybe the future generations might use that, but with the current market, it's actually not needed. But we are forced to do that. We are forced to build an agent. We are forced to build the LLM model. We are forced to get all those chatbots for the customers. And whenever the features are there, we need to test that as well, which is totally not necessary. If you see the customer usage of those features, it's just less than like 10%. Nobody is going to that flow, but we're still testing it. So that's where we are spending more time and more. I mean, Nandini rightly touched upon the points. Like, we are not Netflix, we are not Facebook. Like, nobody is like looking into this app every day. So once a week, maybe twice a week, that is all. And for that, we are giving like updates back and forth. Like, do we really need it? Do we really worth our time? Yeah, that raises a lot of questions.
Well, this has been terrific. We're not done, but we are getting close to time. And I sort of lost track of time because of a few of the technical glitches. So we had two questions at the end, and I think they're related. So I'm going to smush them together. One is, the domain knowledge is potentially, the code is not a moat anymore. Test specs, domain knowledge are becoming the most important asset. That's a supposition that we've made. But I think the way that we want to talk about this question, and this is hopefully going to help everyone here as they think about their careers, whether they're early career or very late career like me. When we think about an early career engineer or mid-career, what are the skills to focus on this year? What are and we're going to go around. So what is your top recommendation for skills to focus on? And Ankur, I'll have you go first if you could.
So I think I'll start with the first question, Wendy. Right, when you said domain is becoming a more of a motor, code is losing its importance. Right, I don't agree with that. Right, I think the domain knowledge or the customer behavior understanding, or like Nandini mentioned, our understanding of finding the more bugs or the test suits, right? That has always been importance or will continue to be important, right? I think I'm not saying code is not important. I think code is also important. But with AI, it is becoming much easier to develop or reproduce the code. But I think which will continue to be hard is to how reproduce the knowledge that we have developed over the period, right? Be it knowledge around the domain or the business intent, right? If I have to say, QA has always been playing an important role. I think Nandini also mentioned same. Rahul also mentioned somewhat similar thing that QE always used to have that domain knowledge better than developers, and that's what QE is was playing the role, right? They will find a edge scenario, or they'll find a experience or a flow that someone may have not thought about it, but actually customer will do it, right? So I think what is important now is we capture the business expectations, and we know what can go wrong in the product, and we find that. To answer your next question around what a next gen QEs or next gen engineers should focus on, I think like we all know, developing code is becoming easier, but to make sure that code that is being generated is correct or not, right? So I think I'll say the strong problem solving skills, or probably system thinking skills, that how a system is behaving is going to be playing a more important role than just knowing Python or a Java language, right? I should know I should have more confidence finding out whatever is developed by AI is correct or not, or does it meet my expectations or not. There is always a lot of dilemma around that. Maybe AI will replace humans. I don't actually agree with that as well. I think what AI will do, it will help us do things which were redundant or which has been become monotonous for now at a faster speed, or can solve that problem. And I think the thing that we may have to focus on is finding more efforts solving the problem that actually needs importance, right? Maybe gaining more knowledge about the business behavior, or finding fine tuning our edge cases so that we can test things which may end up creating a problem in production.
Thank you. I'm just going to go around and have you guys share your thoughts and perhaps respond to Ankur. So Nandini, if you don't mind.
I think, like I mentioned, I think in my very first question you asked, stop worrying about how to automate or how to learn the art of automation. You have tools for that, leverage them, make use of that, right? Think of it this way. If in the era of not having elevators, you would climb using stairs. But when you do have an elevator, you're not going to go to the 95th floor using stairs, right? Use that elevator. Use that automated model that you have and leverage that. One thing you have to focus on, I would say, is understanding risk analysis of any system and understanding the complexity of how does scalability work. All of this is fine and dandy, but when you start scaling a business, any business, and scaling a system or an enterprise, you're going from a group of maybe 100 people as your user base to 1,000, that scale. But you're going from 1,000 to a 100,000, that is also scale. You're already at 100,000 and you're trying to fix this AI generated system. Then understand, how are you going to bring those guardrails? How are you going to understand that what are the risks that come with scalability, right? And gone are the days where we are going to run everything every time. It is all about risk scaffolding. It is all about prioritizing what needs to be run. So I would say that the thing I would focus on is like how do you understand distributed systems? How do these distributed systems fail at scale? What can be done to mitigate those failures is what every QE engineer should focus on. All automation, test coverage, what we used to do, it's not gone anywhere. It's still there, but it's just a side artifact now.
Thank you. Rahul.
Yes, Wendy. So as we spoke earlier, with AI, we can generate code much faster, but also that means we can build the wrong things faster. You see what I mean? Like Somu mentioned how stupid the code was developed by AI. So my biggest recommendation would be to build strong problem-solving skills and system thinking skills, like Ankur mentioned. So the tools that you learn today may be very different from 2 years from now. So they keep changing incredibly fast, especially with AI. So however, I would strongly suggest that you use AI as an accelerator to boost your career. And also, you are falling behind if you are not already using it. So, for example, when someone joins our team, we take them through the business flow. We take them through the whole ordering process, from how a customer orders on the web or mobile app, and all the way how it's going to the kitchen to bake and coming back to their hands. So we teach them the whole business flow and understand what's happening on the UI side, API side, and what are the different systems involved to make this happen, so that they have strong business knowledge, and then they can go ahead and start learning about automation frameworks and start writing tests. So in short, we can teach someone a framework in weeks, but teaching them the business and the customer domain takes much longer. And that's where the real QA value is.
So well said. And Somu, thank you. You're going to close us off for today's panel. So over to you.
Yeah, I'll just make it very crisp with all the points mentioned by the panelists. So software development is much cheaper in this AI era, but software engineering is not cheaper. So I think that is something we all need. I mean, as a staff engineer, I should be much worried about the engineering part. So how reliable is the system? How scalable is the system? How strong? How much we can trust this quality? How much we trust the code that is being generated by AI? Is the bug being produced by AI is actually the real bug? Can we trust that? So those are all something, the questions that we need to ask before we move on into any of the systems. But I think as a quality engineer, we don't need to learn anything, is what I understand, because we have been rising the quality bar for decades, because we know the product knowledge, we know the quality assurance. All we need to know at this point is basic 101 prompt engineering. That is all we need, is what I know. So yeah, if we have a better prompt engineering understanding with AI, if we know how to chat with AI, how to communicate with AI, I think AI can solve the problems. Also, you need to put your QA hat all the time, like question AI. Why do we need to do that? How do you deal with this? Because you accumulated all the experiences, so you have better knowledge than what AI is currently doing right now. So always put the QA hat and make the right decision. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I feel like what a great ending point. The idea that we really do have to carry forward the engineering aspect of this, really understanding the systems engineering, the business domain, and every piece of this. So you guys have done such a nice job summing that up, hopefully. And I feel terrible because I was not managing the quality engineering of getting to the questions that were posed on the panel. I hope that we can get to some answers for those later. But thank you all for folks who have joined and listened. And please do mention mention on social media, as we asked earlier, and also check out some of the partner booths and areas within the TestMu conference virtual venue. Thank you all. Somu, Rahul, Ankur, Nandini.
Thank you.
It's been great. It's really been great. Thank you,
Yeah, it was
guys.
great. Thanks.
Thank you, team.
Thanks. Bye.